Oh,
They're
I
all
thought-
Navy or
I
Marine.
heard it.
Okay.
Do you want to
Hold the gray-
shoot the
gray
gray
card
card
in here?
and the
Yeah,
color chart?
that's good.
They're
Move
not
that
all
over a
graduates,
little
but
bit
they're all
more.
Navy and Marines, so no
Carrie.
Air Force.
Carrie,
Yes,
move it a little bit more into Phil.
into Phil.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
All right.
And point it a
I'll-
little bit more
I can
toward the
show you the
light.
list.
Point it a little more to the light.
There you
we
go. Oh, yeah. Okay.
How many graduates?
Um,
Move it a little more
I'll
in,
count while you're,
Carrie. A little
move it
more
in the,
Carrie.
in.
That, there, perfect. That's perfect.
Okay,
Okay, we got that.
yeah.
All right, I'm still rolling.
You got it?
Yep.
We
Okay,
have that,
let me get
yeah.
the slate.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you have 19 guys,
You ready?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I mean, we can
Hang
just
on
record
a
it
second,
way.
Phil.
okay,
Go
if
ahead.
you have 19 guys for this project,
Hold on.
Just
Right?
a moment, Phil,
Yes,
let us-
sir.
Let me
us hit
just
this
slate
marker
and then you
on.
guys can chat. Phil Butler, interview take one.
All right, now we got all the rubrics out of the way.
You can say what you were gonna say though.
so yeah, so if you have 19 guys for this project, then for each one of us, it's just going to be up.
No.
That's all there is, you know? I mean, here you are doing like umpteen thousand hours, you know, all this interview time and out there walking around taking photos and drones and all this other stuff. And for each one of us, it's going to be blip.
No, sir.
I know
Because
that's the way it works with the news. I've
Well,
interviewed.
yeah, the news has to do everything in 15-second sound bites. We can take our time. That's one of the things you.
Yeah, but when you have the finished product, if there are 19 of us, then it
Well,
would go on forever if
We're
you.
talking about finished products, not product. There could be 1 to 3 minute pieces, multiple ones made, just around certain themes. Let's say there's a capstone seminar on leadership being taught at the Naval Academy, and the professors there say, "What do you have on leadership?" We can type in a keyword to all your footage, and it can bring up every time leadership was mentioned or talked about or keyworded, because we also have an editor who's putting in keywords. If you're talking and you don't use the word leadership, but you're describing how leadership was at work in the Hanoi prison systems, then a keyword will be there and say, look at this stuff, look at this.
Well,
So-
the focus on leadership and not teamwork.
Teamwork is absolutely another. I just chose leadership
I see,
off
okay.
the top of my head as one such theme.
And with 19 guys, how many of us are Naval Academy graduates?
The vast majority of you are Naval Academy.
count.
Yeah.
have a list.
Carrie's got the exact list.
Ah,
We
I-
only interviewed.
I didn't know there were that many, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah, there were a lot in Naval Academy.
Oh, that's right. Later on, I'm thinking, after I went down in 1966 and 67 and 68, more guys went down that were Academy, right?
Right. Let me now put the microphone into the shot, into where it's supposed to be, so that we're all set to
I
actually
can show you a list afterwards. I have a list.
make sure,
So-
Bill, that we're.
So what happened? Oh,
He's just getting the microphone organized.
I make sure that it's up and out of your way when you first sit down, and then, how's that look, Bill?
Good, is it far enough in front of him?
No, I'm gonna wanna come down if I can. How does
You
that?
can, that's good. I'll need you to wiggle your fingers under it
Yeah,
once you get set.
right
I
there.
think off
Wiggle
the
your
top of
fingers
my
downward.
head.
There you go. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good, you're good.
Good on the pocket cinema?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
so Bill, you don't travel with this group for the full time, huh? You're only with them for one day or 2 days?
A couple days at a time. They're kind of the advanced team,
Yeah,
and then I parachute in to help them shoot.
right.
I own my own airplane, so I flew into Monterey here. I have an instrument rating. I really enjoy flying. My dad was
Wow,
a
good
career
for
Air Force
you.
pilot.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and you have a private with instrument rating
I
or
have a
commercial?
multi-engine commercial instrument.
did you fly for pay at one
Never
time?
did. No, at one point, I bought a multi-engine airplane thinking I was gonna put camera systems in it, so I wanted to get the rating so I could fly it. But then that was just way too crazy expensive, so I backed out of that. Now I have a Bonanza that I fly for work.
A Banana, a new one with the V-tail or the old one?
Well, it's a,
Oh, the old
it's a
one
straight
been-
tail, and it was built in '88,
Okay.
but it's a real nice airplane.
Uh-huh.
Got tip tanks, 6-hour endurance.
Wow.
So it's a real good.
I don't think my
cost-benefit.
butt could take that long.
It doesn't.
Mine
Definitely-
either.
I definitely have a bottle to pee into.
Mhm.
You know how it goes.
So do you carry all this equipment? You can't carry
Oh,
this
no.
equipment.
No, Patrick and Carrie, if it's not too far, they drive with it in their van. But if it's too far to drive, they fly with it
Mhm.
as excess baggage and then rent a van.
Yeah, this is all my equipment, so I bring it all.
Wow. So,
This
but
is about as stripped down as you can get.
yeah, wow, holy cow. So it's an 88 banana with the V-tail?
No, straight tail,
Straight tail.
6 place.
When did they stop making the V-tail?
I think 65, something like that.
Yeah. I flew those when I was a kid, flew a
Yeah.
couple of times.
Yep.
Well, Phil, I want to thank you so much for your willingness to participate in this. I think your perspective is really unique. I've read your book cover to
Mhm.
cover, and I've got lots of questions that pertain to some of the points you make in there. As I explained when we met, what makes this project unique from probably other things that have come along to interview you is that this is expressly for the military to learn from what they can from the lessons of the Hanoi prison systems and the ways that you were brought together. As you said in your book, no amount of money would, and I think that the exact quota I don't have available to me at the moment, but
I think I recall that I said something like, I wouldn't take any amount of money for the experience,
yes,
but I wouldn't take any amount of money to do it again.
right.
Something like that, right?
Right.
Mhm.
You would, and honestly, that is one of the things that first alerted Bob Mitchell to something, that there was something extraordinary going on, contained in the metrics of the testing that they were doing, the Navy was doing on all of you pilots.
Mhm.
And what he found, and I found the same thing in every single former POW I've interviewed, they've all said, one way, shape, or form or another,
Mhm.
I wouldn't wish this experience on anyone. I wouldn't want to repeat this experience, but I came out a better man than I went in, and I value that experience.
And we didn't volunteer for it.
Exactly. So for the Navy, for the military, to know the extraordinary pain and suffering and degradation that you went through, and yet for all of you to arise, not only dedicated to those 3 words, return with honor, but also to come out and say, we didn't just survive, some part of us thrived. We came out better, we
Mhm.
came out remade. That's where we're wanting to dig.
Mhm.
So, just to get a kind of introduction for who you are on camera, if you could, sir, state your name, your rank upon retirement, and we'll go from there.
Phil Butler, Commander, USN, on retirement.
And can you talk a little bit about just the day of your shoot down? What was going on that day?
Well, I was briefed for a night mission. I think was scheduled to go off in a flight of 4 at about 10 o'clock at night. And in the briefing, I recall oddly, one of the things that I remember the most about the briefing was that if we went down over North Vietnam, to try to get to Laos from where we went down, that was the one thing, because we couldn't be rescued in North Vietnam. And the other thing was that if we did go down, we could count on the Vietnamese probably having dogs. So somehow or another, our intelligence knew about that, which was going to come to pass to be true. So onto the flight deck to go off at somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 o'clock at night, and the lead and his wingman aircraft for some reason went down. I don't know why they went down, or if something went on with the guys that they didn't want to fly it, or whatever happened. But anyway, I went off with Lieutenant Spellman, and I was his wingman. And oddly enough, it turns off that as I was catapulted off that night, well, first of all, let me go back just a second and say that I was also briefed for this mission that I was going to have an electronic fusing that had been installed in my airplane with 6 Mark 81 DT fused 250-pound bombs, and that nobody had ever flown with this fusing before, and the purpose of it, because we were going out to Highway 1 after trucks, it was a road reconnaissance mission, that the idea was the bombs to ring in and go off 6 feet above the ground instead of on the ground, making them more damaging to trucks and jeeps and personnel on Highway 1. And the Vietnamese were moving armaments and people and men and supplies down Highway 1 to South Vietnam from North Vietnam from Hanoi. So anyway, I remember Lieutenant Spellman catted off, and I went off. I think I was on the right cat, and I think he was on the left. And as I went off, my main device for remaining upright and for telling me how my airplane was inclined. There was a piece of equipment we had with a large ball of an earth on it, and it was called an AJB-3, and it was our primary navigation device. And as I went off, it spun in circles and went out, which left me with my secondary, which was just a little small ball that was up on the canopy bow, and what I'm trying to say, tell me what direction I was going. So all of this went out, and I called the ship and said that, my major equipment, everything had gone out, and they said, Roger. They directed me to go to 20,000 feet and hold until recovery took place and they could recover me, because I was in a pretty precarious situation with with no good navigation. But being the hard-headed Lieutenant JG that I was, I figured I might as well go out. It's a mission. I may as well go. I have all these bombs. Why should I drop them in the water when I could be dropping them on something? So I managed to join up on Fred's airplane, and we went to coast end just north of Vin on Highway 1. And we were just sort of tooling along at about 15 or 20,000 feet as we came in to the coast. We called it feet dry. And I happened to look down Highway 1 and saw some trucks, and I keyed the mic and said, Fred, we've got trucks at our 9 o'clock, let's roll in. And he didn't do anything, and I said, Fred, roll in, trucks below. So we did finally. We rolled in. I got into a 45-degree dive, and I was on his wing. He had Zuni rockets, and I had these bombs. And the idea was for me to pickle my bombs at the same time that his Zuni rockets went off, because those rockets were totally blinding. So I can imagine we reached 500 knots in about probably 2,000, 2,500 feet, and I could see the trucks below me, and Fred pickled off his rockets, and I hit the bomb switch, and everything just went black. That was it. Everything went black, and that's when the story starts of, I guess, my second life.
That happened, I think it was Alvarez had the same description. Al Carpenter had the same description. I think Al Carpenter likes the joke that he shot himself down.
Right.
Exactly.
Same here.
It's just that same problem with the fusing, and obviously later they would fix it, but
And I'm looking up stuff on it now with Mike's help, and there are literally dozens and dozens of guys, Air Force and Navy, that get killed with this thing after I went down. So the Navy and the Air Force just said, well, oh well, it's just guys in airplanes, keep sending them out, you know, we got this war going on here.
Yeah.
So they kept sending guys out and killing guys right and left.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm gonna boost the audio on channel 1 a little bit, Bill. I'm noticing that it's a little bit less. Did you see that?
Yeah. Can you give us just a 10 count, sir?
Hold on 1 second.
Hang on
Let
just
me
a sec.
get the system up here. Let me get my flashlight. You have such a great voice. Okay, if you could give us a 10 count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, how's that look?
Good. Thank you, sir.
One of the fairly unique, but I found really great stories of this whole was your 4 days when, because unlike most of the other former POWs, you were not captured upon descent. Can you tell something of that story, sir?
Yeah. Well,
Well, I'm
back
sorry.
back in the airplane. Let me
Just before I get you started,
Uh-huh.
I do want to explain
Yeah.
that I've got a bit of an asthmatic thing going on. So
I'm sorry.
If I have to cough, I will stop you. But I'm doing well. But I just wanted to
Okay.
explain why I
Oh,
have
sure.
this warm fluids here.
Yeah, and I'll need this too.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
So anyway, back in the airplane, I hit the bomb pickle button, and bam, everything just went black, and my control stick turned to lead, and the throttle, everything went black, and I can remember in my mind seeing these little fireflies coming up through the floorboard of the airplane and through the instrument panel, and I remember some little pieces going into my hand, and at that point, I began to rotate in a forward tumble, and I realized I had left the aft empennage and the wings of my airplane back there someplace. Just literally blowing them all off. So I was in a cockpit, whirling at 500 knots in a 45-degree dive at about 2,000 feet, headed rapidly towards the ground, and my first instinct from training, not from even thinking about it, was to try and grab my face curtain. But because I was in some negative G's, I would imagine anywhere from 2 to 3 negative G's as I whirled in the cockpit, I actually couldn't reach the face curtain because my head was against the canopy bow, and so the face curtain ejection handle was way down below my back here. But luckily in the A4 we had a secondary ejection system, and it was a T-handle that was down in front of the seat. So built up like I was able to reach down quickly and grab the T-handle and give it a yank, and bam, out I went. The canopy went off and I went out in the ejection seat. So the North American Ray-Pack seat worked as advertised, and out I went. One of the problems I learned later in prison was that my butt was about 6 inches away from the ejection seat. So when the ejection seat went off, it rammed into my rear end and compression fractured my spine. And actually my spine is a little rotated in one direction by about 20 degrees as a result of this impact of the seat hitting my rear end. But I have to say I'm not complaining, because out I went. I remember feeling the ejection seat being kicked away, the butt snapper they called it, kicking the seat away from me, and I remember my chute going up automatically. And in the night there was some moonlight out, and I could look up and I saw my chute and I saw panels that were torn out, and I could hear a weird whistling kind of a sound as I was descending. And I realized that I was going much faster than I should have been in a parachute. But luckily, again, I went through a huge canopy of trees. These trees must have been, oh, I don't know, 100, 150 feet high, but I went ripping down through these trees, and they grabbed my chute and the chute risers, and I came ripping down through the tree and slammed into the ground so hard that, again, my legs didn't withstand the impact, and I hit my rear end, and then I bounced right back up again, and I wound up sitting there. When I got my senses about me, there I was hanging about 6 feet above the ground in this parachute risers. So that's how I made it to North Vietnam. And anyway, I knew as I went out of that airplane and as I got out into that parachute, I knew that my life had changed forever, that nothing was ever going to be the same as it had been in my previous life. But I was able to unbuckle my risers and drop down onto the ground, get out of my parachute and drop to the ground. And I had all this equipment on me, you know, this belt around me with all the survival gear and my G suit and all this stuff. So, and my helmet. As I got down on the ground, I got my senses about me. I could hear cars beeping and people yelling. And I realized I was near the highway where I was bombing.
Sorry, Phil, there's a garbage truck. They come today, and we thought they were supposed to come earlier.
Good.
I told him. I've been thinking about it all morning.
That's all right. They won't take long.
XLR line input to the Black Magic is really off.
It's my nightmare, Phil.
Are they here now?
It's weird,
Is the garbage
Yeah.
truck here now?
We're good here, it's just
They
off
are.
there. So I was trying to
I'm gonna
turn
go
down the
supervise
gain,
them.
and I can't adjust
I'm going to
it.
stand up.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
It's
fixed.
operated by the line input, so let me turn it down here. It's okay to be down a little bit on it. Hold on.
Well,
Channel 1, right?
that's
There, how's that?
better. Should we
Uh,
do?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Get in and get out with my eyes.
Yeah, I'll go back to, we're gonna go
There's
ahead.
very few houses on
Whoop.
this.
Here,
Very few houses on this
Here.
street.
I can raise that up, Phil.
That's all right. No, it's okay. It's all right. I'll just stay away from it.